Welcome to Alan Berry Reports TV. I'm your host, Alan Berry Labucan from alanberryreports.com. Today we have a new installment of our In the News show. This is the program where we talk about resource companies with recent developments. On today's show we have a couple companies to talk about. Both of these companies have advanced staged projects. One of them is involved with a silver project down in Mexico. The other is involved with copper in Nevada. And but before we get into those in the news companies, we're going to talk. We'll open the show with some comments about trends that we're seeing that are very bullish for the short and long term prices of several commodities. Before getting started, we always like to send out some thank you messages to some of the people that are important to us being able to do these shows. First of all, we use youtube.com to produce and broadcast these shows so you can watch them at your leisure. Really great website for anybody that's interested in doing online shows. We highly recommend them. Also, if you're watching the show on our website at alanberryreports.com, if you look to the left and right of me, you'll notice that we have some banner sponsors. Those sponsors are really important in us being able to do these shows. And if you'd like to do some homework on those companies, we have the banners are direct link to the company's websites. And so if you click on those banners, it'll take you to their websites where they have plenty of information about their projects, the people that are involved, the work that they're doing. It's a really great place for you to start out your research on those companies. And again, really easy. Click on their banner, take you to their websites. And of course, to you, the viewers, you give us an audience to talk to about commodities and resource stocks, and we really appreciate you tuning in. So thank you very much. All right, so we'll get started with our commentary. In our opening commentary from yesterday's show, we talked about the challenges we're having trying to find new resource companies with discoveries that we haven't talked about in the past. If you'd like to watch that show, if you are watching on the website, just look above me at the shows section. In there we have all of our past shows, including yesterday's show, and you can check out our talk about some of these challenges in finding new companies to talk about. Fortunately, we have a very solid group of companies that we've sort of built up over the last, we started the report in or the summertime of 2005. So since then, we built up a really strong roster of companies that we follow and or have talked about on our shows. And so we've got lots to talk about from those companies, but we're always in the hunt to find new companies to add to our roster or talk about on the shows. And over the last several months, that has been getting more and more difficult to find those new companies. Now, it isn't that there hasn't been new discoveries to talk that have sort of we've done research on. It's that we're seeing in those projects there's really two kinds of projects we look for. Either we're looking for a low-grade deposit project that has the potential for large tonnage, is in close to surface, so that can be, if it's open pit mine, those kind of projects can be very lucrative. In fact, many of the current mines in the world are those kind of low-grade, high tonnage open pit targets. The other is to look for high-grade underground targets. And what we're seeing a lot in these projects that we've been noticing of the last little while when looking for new companies to talk about is the lower grade deposits tend to look to are challenged on the tonnage side of things. Or the higher grade deposits, you don't need big tonnage, but the intersections that are tending to look fairly narrow. And so those are not the key things we're looking for. Or the projects are in countries that are not as easy to work in as the ones that we tend to focus on. We focus on countries with long histories of mining, like Canada, the United States, Mexico, Peru, Chile, those kind of countries that have had a lot of mining experience, and so we don't venture out into those more challenging countries because they cause us concerns, and so you know that's why we're having difficulties. We're finding we're seeing some new drill results, but the low grade ones are kind of tonnage challenged. The higher grade ones are pretty narrow, or they're in difficult countries to work in, and that's not the kind of companies that we look for our reports or to talk about on the shows. And so that's the crux of where the issue is. Now, why this is so important is what is happening in the supply with exploration and new development of discoveries is that gives you some very strong indications of what's going to happen with the long-term supply chains of several commodities. We follow closely gold, silver, copper, uranium, diamonds, and other commodities. And we're always looking for new projects to talk about in all those commodities. But again, it's getting more difficult. And when that gets difficult, it is actually very bullish for the long-term price of several those commodities we talked about and others, as well as the resource companies that currently have new discoveries that are moving ahead, because the value, if the price of the commodities goes up, the value of the assets they have in the ground are going up, and if the supply, if the group of companies is small, then you have a lot of investors that are looking at a small group of companies, and that drives prices higher. And so, if you're trying to assess where prices for commodities are going in the long term, it's very important to watch what is happening with new discoveries and projects that have the potential to be new producers. For example, if you looked at what happened in the in the 1980s and into the 1990s, it gave you a very good indication of what was going to happen in the 2000s. At that time in the 1990s, the funding was very, very low for exploration and new mine development. It had actually dried up to really, really low levels, chronic underinvestment, and then you could also see that the emerging economies led by China and India were starting to get some significant traction on their growth. And so you had this new group of buyers that were coming on top of the developed economies, and then you had the supply chains of many commodities that were becoming poorly prepared to meet that demand from the developed and the rapidly growing emerging economies. And so then we saw in the 2000s that for the whole decade we had a very bullish market for many commodities. And now, normally what's supposed to happen in that kind of a scenario is that investment dollars are supposed to go up, production is supposed to go up, and that will start to bring the prices down. But we're actually seeing the opposite, not just for the last 6 or 8 months. We've been seeing this for quite a while, where they're not the money. There's an improved amount of money going into exploration and new development, but now that that sort of pipeline of new discoveries is slowing down as we're hitting these record prices. And so what this is telling us about the future is that the trend that we've been seeing for the last, let's say, 20 years or so is very, very strong and suggesting that prices are going higher in the future. And so what this leads us to is that we've been very bullish in our reports for since we started the reports based on those long-term issues with exploration and development, new production development, and if anything, we are as confident and as bullish now as we've ever been because of these situations that we're seeing, that the production profile on current mines is not improving, and so as you're mining out those old deposits, you got to bring in new deposits, and we're seeing a slowdown in that area as well, on the new discoveries and new development. And so we've said for a long time that the supply chains of many commodities, excuse me, are ill prepared for the future, and if anything, that is getting even worse. And so if the supply chains aren't able to meet future demand, the prices can only go higher. And that's where we see things going. And that will be very beneficial for the resource stocks that we follow. So now we're going to talk about, now that we've done with our opening commentary, we're going to move into the first company. The first company we're going to talk about today is Nevada Copper Corp. On the disclosure, we're not shareholders of the company. They are a banner sponsor on our website. And as I mentioned earlier, if you'd like to do some homework on the company, you just click on their banner. That'll take you to their website. And there's plenty of information there for you to do your homework on Nevada Copper. Our past coverage, we started coverage of them in our Allen Berry Reports email newsletter on April the 6th, 2008, which was our 17th edition. If you look above me, you'll find a report section. In the report section, we have all of our past reports, including that 17th edition, and you can either read it online or download it in a Word file to print off. We've also had them on several of our past shows. The most recent show that we had them on was our January 26th, 2011 show. You can also find all of the other shows that they were on in our show section, including that January 26th one. If you look above me at the shows section, we have all of our past shows in there. We include the dates, the companies that were talked about, and a link to easily go and watch the shows. And so that's a really easy way for you to find all of the past shows in that we've talked about, all the companies, including Nevada Copper. And their website is nevadacopper.com. That's NEVADACOPPER.com. And the news release we're going to talk about today is from February the 8th, 2011. I'm just going to pull up their website now, and when you're on their website, they have a news section, and in the news section, we're looking for that February 8th press release. The headline from that one is Nevada Copper updates feasibility study progress. They go on that Nevada Copper is pleased to provide an update on progress of the definitive feasibility study, the start of which was announced on November 25th, 2010. The DFS team, led by Tetra Tech Inc., is building upon preliminary economic assessments completed in March 2008 and December 2009. This DFS is scheduled for completion in June the 30th, 2011. Then they talked about what they're doing with this study, and they talked about Tetra Tech is a team in December focused on updating the mineral estimate and completing a number of trade-off studies prior to commencement of detailed engineering. The recently completed definition drilling program totaling 50,000 meters was very successful in achieving its objective of moving additional mineral resources into the measured and indicated categories, as well as discovering stacked mineralization below the existing north deposit. The DFS will use the updated resource estimate to develop mine plans and ultimately a categorized mining reserve. This trade-off studies covered such areas as staging of mine development from underground and larger scale open pits, tailing storage alternatives, reviewing potential production rates, method of accessing the underground East and E2 deposits, and ore transport from underground, comparing decline versus shaft options for the open pits, trucks versus in-pit crushing and conveying, and power supply alternatives. And then later, then they give you a lot of details about the studies that the engineering firm is doing. Later in the, and it's really good information that'll give you some good homework on that. Then later in the press release, there's a quote from Robert McKnight, who is the executive vice president of Nevada Copper, who commented, and I quote, "We are very pleased with the progress on the feasibility study to date. This work is focused on various trade-off studies and finalizing an updated mineral resource estimate as a basis for the DFS reserve estimate. Work now will advance to detailed work on all aspects of the staged mine development platform, mine and mill design, equipment selection, developing mine production schedules, development of capital and operating costs, and provision for the related project infrastructure requirements. Meantime, state permits allowing for the start on underground access to the East and E2 deposits are expected by the end of the first quarter 2011. In the details of this press release, they do talk about the advantages and flexibility that they have in either going after the higher grade they have two styles of deposits on the project. One is a higher grade underground target, and the other is a open pit, lower grade but near surface open pit target. And so they talk about the benefits and flexibility that they have to either go after the underground first or the open pit. And again, a lot of those key details are in the press release that you can find on the company's website. So that was the key information from their press release. I'm just going to pull something up here. So some of the reasons that we like the company, they're copper focused. We're very bullish on copper based on long-term supply and demand trends. Their Pumpkin Hollow project is in Nevada, which is one of the most pro-mining jurisdictions in the world. As I mentioned, they have two styles of deposits on their project. One is a high-grade underground target, and the other is a low-grade, high-tonnage, near-surface open pit style. And these two styles, as I said, give them significant flexibility when assessing the economics of developing a mine. And they're doing plenty of work on that economic assessment as well as on the exploration front. And so this will keep them very busy, and we expect them to have a very good flow of news in the future. And so again, as always, we suggest that people do their homework on any of the companies we talk about. And a great place to start that, if you want to do your research for Nevada Copper, is on their website at nevadacopper.com. So now we'll move into the second company we're going to talk about today, and that company is U.S. Gold Corp. On the disclosure, we're not shareholders of the company. Our past coverage, they are a featured company in our Allen Berry Reports email newsletter. We started coverage of them on September the 28th, 2008, which was our 19th edition. If you look above me at the reports section, you'll find that all of our past reports are on there, including our 19th edition. And again, you can read it online or print it off in a Word file. They've also been in several of our past shows. Our most recent show that we had them on, we talked about them on, was on January 26th, 2011. You look above me, you'll see the shows section. In there we have all of our past shows, including the various shows that we talked about U.S. Gold Corp on, including that January 26th one. Their website is usgold.com. Nice and easy one there, usgold.com. The press release we're going to talk about is their February 7th, 2011 release, and I'm just pulling up their website now. And I will then view full details. So it's right on their front page of their website, and the headline is U.S. Gold receives highly encouraging preliminary economic assessment for the El Gallo project and the date is on February 7th. They go on that U.S. Gold was pleased to announce the results of a preliminary economic assessment for its 100% owned El Gallo project in Sonora State, Mexico. The PEA was based on the Canadian National Instrument 43101 Mineral Resource Estimate released in November 2010 and does not include the 6 recently discovered veins or extensions of the known deposits. When it comes to us doing these resource calculations, the teams that do the calculations, they kind of have to cut things off at a certain stage without putting in additional data, because at some point they have to say, well, this is what we're going to assess, and then later on you can redo the calculations. And so it's really just these resource calculations are just a snapshot in time, and as they do additional work, they tend to grow. And so that's important to consider as well. Then in the press release, they have details about the preliminary economic assessment. They give you can find that all in the press release. There's a good quote in here from Rob McEwen, who is the chairman and CEO of U.S. Gold, and he stated, and I quote, "The results of this PEA show that El Gallo is off to an excellent start. With the recent discovery of 6 new veins and extensions of the known resources, there appears to be good potential to further expand the size of the project. 9 drills are currently operating at El Gallo in order to update the current resource and move the project through to feasibility, which is due by year end. We're looking forward to advancing both El Gallo and Gold Bar in Nevada towards production." End quote. And so, as I said, then they have some details there about the average annual production, the cash cost per ounce of silver produced, a very good number there, their rate of return, pre-tax internal rate of return, their the mine life, the initial capital cost, which are quite reasonable, and the payback, how long it will take to pay back their initial capital costs. They talk about the base case of what silver value they were using in their value assessment. And then they give you lots of details about the potential mining operations, initial capital costs. I'm not going to go into it because there's quite a bit of details in there, but you can find all of those details in the company's press release on their website. So I'm just going to close that down. So some of the reasons that we follow the company is that they're focused on silver and gold. As they mentioned, their silver project is in Mexico and their key gold project is in Nevada. That El Gallo project is a very promising silver discovery that, as they mentioned, they're advancing, and then in addition to that, they're finding new discoveries and extending the known zones that they've already found. And so there's lots of growth potential in that resource that they're talking about. They have a very strong management team that's led by Rob McEwen. Rob McEwen was instrumental in the rapid growth of Goldcorp, so he's got a very strong reputation in the mining industry, and he's a real company builder, and so they've got a good leadership there. And that leadership, that team is focused on growing the company rapidly into a much larger company in the future, with the aspirations of turning the company into a mining company. They're well financed. They're very busy with the drill rig, and they should have a strong flow of news in the future. And so those are some of the key reasons we follow the company, and some of the information that stood out from their recent news. And again, a great place to start your homework is on the company's website at usgold.com. So that's a wrap on our today's In the News show. Before closing, we'd like to stress that this show and our reports are for information purposes only. We aren't making buying or selling recommendations. It's important for you to do your own research and speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decisions. We're always trying to grow our audience, and any efforts you make to let your friends know that follow the markets about our website, our reports, our shows would be greatly appreciated. We also really appreciate you taking the time to watch the shows. We know that everybody is very busy these days, and we strive to produce a show that saves you time and, most importantly, brings you high quality information. Our next show we're going to do is tomorrow. We'll do another In the News show where we'll talk about recent developments from resource stocks with high quality projects. The best way to keep track of all the work and updated on all the work that we're doing is to subscribe to our email, there's no charge to be on our email list. If you look above me on the website, you'll see a subscribe button. Just click on that, fill out the information, and again, for no charge, we'll add you to our email list and keep you updated on all the work that we're doing. We hope you can join us for our next show, and you can find all of our work on our website at allenberryreports.com. We hope to see you soon, and have a great day.